Good evening, pilots and mercs. Today we're going to be having a look at Mechanical Frog's Battletech piloting skill rolls. Now, I think in this video he's going to be going over a lot of the more basic rules than the more advanced ones, such as like the floating criticals, which seems to be going back to basics, but I do appreciate that because while I do understand them, I don't necessarily... It would be nice to learn a little bit more about them. So grab your snacks, grab your drinks, and let's get right into the film.
Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about can sometimes be intimidating to new and returning tabletop battle. Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about piloting skill rolls, which can sometimes be intimidating to new and returning tabletop Battletech players. They're one of those things that people have lingering questions about, so help is on the way, shall we?
I just gotta point out, I absolutely love the bushwhacker over here. Anyways, please continue.
In Battletech, a wide variety of situations, actions, and events could force the mech warrior to use his or her skill to prevent their battle mech from falling to the ground. Sometimes it's running on unstable or otherwise treacherous ground. Other times it's taking so much damage in a single turn that your mech becomes unexpectedly unbalanced. Still, other times your mech is kicked, pushed, or shoved by another battle mech. How rude.
Yeah, don't mind me in the charger when that happens.
The famed piloting skill roll is how you determine if a mech warrior is successful at staying on their mech's feet. When you do it, and what numbers you use to modify your to-hit roll depend upon the phase of the turn and what is going on when the roll is called for. The table for determining what requires a piloting skill roll and what the modifiers are can be found in various rulebooks, your battle mech manual, compendium, and elsewhere.
Usually, I think you'll get to this. It's usually like 20 plus damage, like you said, uneven terrain and whatnot. The ones I've also seen is like if your gyro just absolutely fails, you have to make a piloting check to get back up. And again, different factors with different rule books.
In the movement phase, piloting skill rolls may be necessary when your mech warrior moves their mech into a hex with specific types of terrain. For example, moving into a hex with heavy jungle requires a roll with a +2 modifier. If the mech warrior has a piloting skill of 4, that would mean a 6+ is required to keep the mech from falling down as a result of entering that hex. While achieving that 6+ might not be too difficult, each additional heavy jungle hex will require an additional roll. The important thing to note, no matter what the modifier is that rolls during this phase are taken immediately when the action is taken. Unlike the movement phase, piloting skill rolls during the attack phases, weapon, and physical are made at the end of the phase in which the attacks are made. All the modifiers resulting from damage that phase are added. These rolls can pile up during the phase and result in multiple rolls at the end.
Which, if you've ever played Mega Mech, you will definitely get those rolls pushed up. Again, it's only a digitalized version of the tabletop, so it's not that much different, but I've definitely had this happen before.
For example, this Timberwolf and Bushwhacker are having a feisty disagreement over who owns this piece of property. During the weapon attack phase, the Bushwhacker does a cumulative 22 damage to the Timberwolf and manages to score a critical hit on the right leg actuator. This will require rolling 2 piloting skill checks, one for the busted actuator and one for the 20+ damage. The Timberwolf's mech warrior has a piloting skill of 4, which means it needs to take a piloting skill roll of 4 plus 1 for taking over 20 damage, plus another 1 for the critical on the leg actuator. Luckily for the Timberwolf, the rolls were an 8 and a 10, so the Timberwolf did not fall at the end of the weapons phase.
And what's really funny about all these piloting skills, you realize just how unstable some of these mechs can be. Like just how important that gyro is as soon as you go to make any skill roll like this. Because you'd think in the video games they were just these behemoths that would basically never be blown over or just collapse to the ground, but simply just is not the case. Like you see on the tabletop, they will fall over all the time. I didn't necessarily realize this until I started playing more Mega Mech and more like tabletop versions.
In the resulting physical attack phase, the Timberwolf is kicked by the Bushwhacker and also kicked by this urban mech that came out of
Stealthy Irby here to save the
nowhere and
day.
scored a critical hit on the Timberwolf's foot actuator. Since the Timberwolf takes more than 20 damage during the physical attack phase,
that's my
that
boy.
will factor into the piloting skill roll. The total number of rolls will be 4, 1 for each of the kicks, 1 for the 20 plus physical damage, and 1 for the critical on the actuator. The modified piloting skill number for each of these 3 rolls will be the original piloting skill of 4, plus 1 for the existing leg actuator critical from the weapons phase, plus 1 from the new critical on the foot actuator, plus 1 for the 20 points of additional damage. That's 4 piloting skill rolls that need 7 plus to be successful. 3 out of the 4 rolls are successful, but the 4th is a 5, so the Timberwolf will fall and have to take additional damage as a result. There are a few extra times when a piloting skill roll is necessary. In the case when a mech is pushed into a new hex due to pushing, charging, or a death from above attack, a roll needs to be taken. For the push, it's a +0 modifier to the roll, plus whatever existing modifiers or hex modifiers might exist. For charging and death from above attacks, it's a +2. For example, if this Ebon Jaguar charges the Urban Mech with a pre-existing gyro hit and knocks it back into a hex containing sand, the Urban Mech's Mech Warrior is going to have to roll her piloting skill of 5 plus 2 for the charge, plus 3 for the pre-existing gyro hit, and plus 1 for entering the sand hex. That's a spicy 11 for the plucky little Urban Mech. Good luck, buddy.
And for reference, I believe most of those rolls are off of a 2d6, so you're basically not getting back up from that. Like, in rare instances, you might, but I think Irby here is down for the count. And if not from being hit over here with all these weapon packages.
Additionally, rolls for consciousness and damage to the Mech Warrior are made immediately and take precedence over any other piloting skill rolls and before any additional damage is applied to the mech. Just for fun, let's look at one more example so we can be super sure that we've got this down pat. Our Cataphract is cruising along this open plain with a slight limp because it has an hip actuator critical hit. It enters a hex with rubble in it, which requires a piloting skill roll. The Mech Warrior's piloting skill is 5, which is pushed up to an additional 2 due to the hip actuator damage. While the rubble hex triggers the roll, it's a +0, so no additions to the roll there. The final piloting skill necessary to keep the Cataphract from falling is a 7+. After a roll of 10, it looks like the Cataphract stands to fight another turn. Good job.
I love how the little modifiers just absolutely change things. And again, it's not so much so there's math involved. It's to make the story feel more realistic. Or just, these are more rules to modify the game to tell a story than to actually, I don't know, be more of a masochistic view. So
Cataphract.
there is
In a lot of
purpose
ways,
to
piloting
this.
skill rolls are very similar to dealing with attack modifiers. It's just a matter of remembering when rolls need to be taken, sorting out how many need to be taken, and then adding the appropriate modifiers before the roll. Like anything else in Battletech, the more you do it, the better and faster you're going to be at it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit all the buttons, like, subscribe, so on and so forth. Seeing numbers slowly go up feeds my insatiable need for attention. Thank you to the Ko-Fi supporters who are taking that extra step to directly support the channel and keep the lights on around here. Take care, happy gaming, and go make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.
Yeah, this was a really good refresher on piloting skill rolls. I learned a little bit about this through trial and error, mostly on Mega Mech, and you start to learn pretty quickly how those affect things. Even if you're not quite sure what's going on, you'll at least have some idea of what the rules are. Reading over the quick start guide to Battletech has definitely helped on that regard, but this video is a good refresher on that as well. If you want to find the original video and support Mega Frog, I highly encourage it. Please go to the link in the description or the cards up here. Other than that, this has been Annika, signing out.